right. My name is Scott Marlowe, and lead the Platform TCK project. And welcome everybody. And if you would like to introduce yourself, now would be a good time.
Okay, great. So my name is Cesar Hernandez. I'm also part of the committer group for the TCK project. I'm happy to be here in these calls again because we started a couple last year. I recall we started TCK calls, so looking forward to know more of you and keep working.
I can go quickly. Olivier Lamy. I work for Webtide. I'm a French guy living in Australia, and I think I did few PR last year on the TCK, and I'd like to participate a bit more, especially in the big refactoring of the TCK, and voila.
Hey, Ed Brott. I have a whole bunch of hats here. Mostly, well, I've been involved with this since we first started talking about trying to contribute Java EE over to Jakarta. Most of the heavy lifting from my group gets done by Alwyn and Guru from our team in India. But anyway, so I'm happy to help out wherever I can.
Okay, I can go next. My name is Surid. I'm currently a graduate student at USC in the US, but I've been a developer in the past. So I've been, I think when the TCK calls started last year, so I thought it might be a good opportunity to kind of get involved. So I did manage to read a little bit and probably had a minor change in there, but I'm glad that we've had this call so that I can sort of get back to whatever is going on. So thanks.
And yeah, okay. Well, why don't we, if no one else wants to.
You can go, Scott. I can just say my name is Emilia.
All right, let's just.
I am exactly. You and I we're noisy. We're the noisy ones. We need to do this. My name is Emilia. I am the Ecuadorian. You see at the community forums and in the working group forums as relevant. I am co-founder of Tommy Tribe, and I love technology and open source and the right things happening because of the people. I think anyone using the technology and creating the technology has a responsibility to move it forward. And it just depends on watching carefully how we do stuff, especially in the open. I did test back in environments, and most often in Jakarta, we have a lot of work to do in that sense. I am not technical, I am operations and strategy, and I love these kind of situations where we bring forward, record, make sure that we spread the knowledge over in the department for other developers and also users. They will want to invest their time in the technology because we need new brains to come in, not those of us that have been in the industry for a very long time. That's it.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. And let's see. Have the agenda. And let me just post it once more in chat in case we need it. Okay.
Scott, we don't have edit access. So
yeah, I just requested with my Tommy Tribe account. So maybe you will, I don't know if somebody else apart from Scott have access to provide.
We don't.
I did go through and respond to each of the requests, and I think I granted it to all of you. So
not yet.
Okay. Let's see. I'll do it once more, and then
mine still says request.
Yeah, Scott, it might be easier for you to make the document public for now, and just
Oh, okay. That's a good,
So
that's a
just,
good point. Okay.
yeah, just make it public. We need to move if this document is not in the Jakarta community under minutes. We need to move it there.
Let's see.
Change link. Get link below there.
Okay.
Hmm?
Anyone can view.
Public.
Everyone can
Mhm.
edit.
Yep. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, if the call is being recorded, there was a couple of email addresses that was there, and if this is going to be public, I think from this point on, it should be good to upload the video, but not before. I was able to see a bunch of emails there, so FYI.
All right. So, okay, let's get started. You all should be able to add your names. The first agenda item, I basically mentioned that this is the second call, in case you didn't know, and we have minutes from this morning's call, and we copied the agenda items from this morning's call with the minutes from those, so they're still in the original form from this morning, unmodified. We can add our minutes as we go along. And just wanted to kind of mention that this is sort of an experiment, having two calls at the same time, and we'll go right into platform TCK refactoring, which if in case you haven't been following the mailing list, we have a draft pull request that that is introduced in Maven projects for most of the different test groups, and it's kind of just getting things moving along so we can do further work, and we still get build errors when we run the build from the root of the TCK folder with Maven, but it's a good start. And this morning we asked the question. I think I had like 24 commits in the branch, and I asked, does anyone mind if we squash the commits? And one feedback comment was to keep the history, but go ahead and squash it, but keep the comment history, which we did. And so this particular branch is already squashed, so it should be easier to read if someone wants to read it, and more appropriate, or closer to being ready for merging soon, so we can all kind of build from it and move forward on hacking on the platform TCK refactoring. And that's kind of the gist of the item about the pull request, just to kind of get that out there. And also mentioning that we're using the TCK refactor branch for the refactoring effort, and that is partly because we don't know if we'll complete the effort for EE10, or if it'll continue after EE10 into EE11. We hope to have it all done, but basically we'll have the main branch on the master branch, which we haven't renamed yet, but we talked about renaming, which will very soon get started making changes for EE10. And that will definitely be, that'll be where we will have the EE10 support by default if the refactoring branch doesn't get completed in time. And what I mean by completed is we have all of the same test running, and we have all the same tests that we intend on having running, I should say, and that meet the EE10 requirements. So new tests can be added, and all of the the current ones. So we kind of have two active branches, if you will, for EE10. The refactoring branch, which we hope to have finished in time, but hard to say at this point. But that's kind of what's going on with the branching and what have you. And with one of the first goals is we'd like to be able just to be able to build without failures, and it's kind of a nice, one of the nice things about building with Maven is it tends to pick up build failures more better than Ant. Sometimes you have to look really closely to find failures with Ant. And with Maven, we're getting lots of build failures, but we definitely want to see all the failures be resolved soon. I don't know if anyone has questions or anything to discuss on that.
I do. I have a question. So Scott, for the I call it a squash as well. If we do this, because now we're working on 10, remember that we created the application, the feature that allow us to say or list via cards all the contributors to every release. This was created for 9, and we optimized it for 10, for 9.1. And what we did is we chose commits and we chose PRs merged. If we do this with the squash, what will that do with saying and pushing for the cards that are so important for the work done? Do you know? Investigate.
Let's see. So there was one change that I lost with the squash that I deleted the line that was modified. I did lose one change, and I noted the reference, that reference to in the comments. But since the code was deleted, I thought it was okay. But is that what you mean? Like when you squash, you lose. Like I don't intend on squashing other people's commits. This was just, I changed, I don't know, a lot of lines of a lot of lines of
your work.
a lot of commits, and the squash was just to clean up the the history to make it more readable. I actually have the original branch before I squashed saved off. So we can talk about that offline, maybe on the mailing list.
Oh, totally. Let's do that.
So let's,
so let's talk about, because it's an important topic on, we know how many commits went into every release. We know how many contributors, not only committers, it recognizes the contributions from anyone. So I think this is something important. Even if it's only you making the work, we know how many commits went in and all this stuff, and it's important stats. As you can see, if you haven't seen this, go into the 9.1, for those of you that are new, go into the 9.1 release page and see exactly the stats. We'll tell you what went down, and this is so important. So Scott, up to you. We will not hijack, and I don't think it's a good idea to hijack. But when I thought about this, since I was the one leading the project with the driver that is in the front end, my requirements were, I want to see how many commits, I want to see how many PRs, and how many people contributed. That's it. If we need to adjust it, I need to know. So then a new PR will happen and we need to modify it. This is important because that is how we thank every contributor in the community. So important, including if it's your work, Scott. Doesn't matter, we cannot hide it. We can clean it though. Let's move on.
All right.
So Scott, will you send a message in the mailing list for us to follow up on this tomorrow or sometime, whenever you see it?
Yeah, I'll raise something for for discussing it there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Let's see. So the next item.
Hey, Scott.
Oh, yep. Go ahead.
I had a question. So it looks like a large part of what's going on with this this PR is shuffling around files, moving them from one location to another. Do you have for people that are trying to follow what's going on, it's a little hard to read, there's over 25,000 files that are changed here. Do you have a sort of something that describes, here's what my goal is, here's what here's what we had, here's what we're moving to? Do you have anything that could help sort of orient somebody who's trying to track this?
So let's see. I don't have a write-up of that, and it changed a lot since we started this branch. And initially, I was trying to keep the tests all in the same location. I didn't want to move any tests around at all. But then we decided, we had some discussion on the TCK mailing list about moving to the Maven conventions for where tests are stored, and that is why a lot of the tests moved around so much.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have separate, not only we've not, since we made that change, but I should say we kept the packages all identical. We didn't change any package names, but we just changed the source location to follow the Maven convention for where tests belong. And that's one aspect of a lot of moves that you see in the pull request. And then there's some other movement of trying. I tried to take some of the lot. Well, I won't go into the whole thing. So I think we could have like a review of the pull request and kind of like talk about these things, or maybe it should be an email discussion that kind of walks people through.
Scott,
Yep.
from the context of the conversation that has been going, as far as I remember, we have like 3 threads, email threads, kind of pointing to the PR, and also the PR got a couple of comments. From my point of view, and correct me if I'm wrong, one of the, apart from the decisions, like for example, JUnit 5 or TestNG, one of the key points that I haven't seen anyone provide feedback on how to solve that is, and I don't know if that is that can be considered a current blocker, is how to migrate or remove the com.son ts leaf harness that you get, and I think this was part of one email thread, but I think that's something that at this point is another wall to bring down or to adjust.
Yeah, so there's we discussed the at the code level that question. That's one of the agenda items below. But from the user perspective, we talked about as well, and there was concern about users that depend on the current test harness or the porting kit more, or some aspects of both, what they might need to do. So I don't know if you're talking about that as much as the internal use, but one of the since this is all about the refactoring aspects, we do have we do talk about that in a minute. So maybe we can talk about the user aspects as well, because we didn't talk about that this morning. But, so let's see. see, okay, it's down. Yeah. So it's like it's a bit further down, but this is fundamentally, should we use JUnit 5 or TestNG in the platform TCK? And some spec TCKs are already using TestNG and are quite happy with it. And JUnit 5 is also a very popular test harness. So there are trade-offs. One of the advantages of TestNG is they have richer support for nested profiles. That's closer to what users express now with keywords. It's not the same as our platform TCK keywords, but it's probably like the closest to what we use in keywords, in that you could have you could express similar things to what we have in keywords for all of the current TCK tests that are in optional groups. So there's some advantages of TestNG, and JUnit 5 seems to be popular as well. And someone asked too, whether we have to really choose one or the other in the platform TCK. Could we actually use both? And that's that's a possibility as well. When you get to excluding tests, it would be kind of at a or enabling or enabling or disabling, like the equivalent of keyword properties for test groups, for optional tests in test groups. It would be kind of at the test group level. And if there's a different way to do that with JUnit, it wouldn't be consistent to do that, but it's possible that we could do both. If there's if let's just say hypothetically, let's say someone someone volunteers to work on, I don't know, let's say EJB or the persistence test groups, and they really want to use JUnit 5, and they're going to do all the work, and they're going to and deal with all the changes. Would we want to say no to them using their preferred test tool?
Well, is it good to have like this big mix of different technologies? That's the problem. If you look at the current TCK, we have like the HTTP client. There are 3 or 4 different, so it's a maintenance nightmare. So yeah, I would say yes, but that's at the end is a big problem. Yeah.
So I have my hand raised because I do want, I agree with Oliver. The question is, what are the issues for us limiting or restricting the access to either or? Is there any cons to having that flexibility provided to the developers behind the tests? Or why is this important for us maybe to send a doodle poll and ask the committers of the entire project? I guess that everyone will be affected, not only TCK, or only the TCK people will be affected. What is this? What is the scope?
So I think a lot of the refactoring can happen in the standalone spec teams repositories. That's one path. The other path, which I'm kind of seeing as a default path, is that the refactoring will happen in the platform TCK for technologies that the spec team doesn't engage on making those changes in their repository. We we want to bring all the tests forward into into the new platform TCK, whether that's using JUnit or TestNG. Let's say hypothetically, in the situation I was saying before, if we want to be flexible about what the spec team wants to happen for those tests, that would be like another way to view it. So you have whoever is going to do the work maybe wants to use something different, or do we say no? And if we I'm not I don't mind saying no. I don't mind saying we have to use JUnit or we have to use TestNG to avoid creating a mix of too many different technologies. But we kind of already have standalone TCKs using different technologies as it stands. When someone goes to run the different tests, it would be better if they all used one technology. I mean, I agree with that. I guess what the question I'm posing is, if someone volunteers though to do the work and they want to use the other test framework, would we want to say no? We'll just we're going to always use whichever one we choose now, or I think that's kind of the trade-off. Would we say no to them doing the work because they want to use the other tool?
So Scott, let me tell you, let me be a devil advocate here. This is not, the TCK is so important, but it is not a laboratory where we need predictability, but it's not like you change something and it immediately breaks, right? That is, I would like to, I think this needs to be discussed as a single topic and a thread, and we should use a TCK mailing list because it's that important. I believe in lack of flexibility when there are serious issues. What cleaning things, so maybe having two tools is great, but we should have, start the discussion, and then later, like once you say, let's discuss this for 2 weeks, for example, and then we can have a doodle pool and say, use both, limit to one, because this might go, it needs to be backed too within a week. How much time do we have to discuss on this? And the pros and cons, we need to hear from all these other people. I will even cross-post it with community, right? Because every API has different mailing lists, and you cannot go and do what you did last time. That was super amazing, sending the same message. This is so important because it's the testing tools that it needs to reach out anyone. I have no idea how we will choose to do this, but I'm saying, we can go on and talk about it forever here. And I think Oliver already spoke, but Charit, you have yet to say anything. Ed, you have not said anything. Definitely use this call to do that. But what I want to make sure is that this call is not the one to decide what happens in the TCKs. This is the calls where we bounce ideas and then they'll go into the forums where we include, and then hopefully we add deadlines for everything so that are not open-ended. I think we need to do better on that regard.
That's fine. Yes. So let's move on. Unless there's more feedback about the choice, but we can.
Ed want to say something, I think. Go ahead, Ed.
I do.
Okay.
So
Okay. Good.
one thing to think about is, so you write the tests, right? We, the community, collectively get to support these tests, right? So the more complicated we make that environment, the harder that support obligation will be, right? And it's not today, it's 3-5 years from now when somebody's trying to run a test that was created this year, but they're just finally getting around to doing a compatibility certification. So to my way of thinking, limiting the choices, I think is a positive. It helps. I think it will help vendors, right? Because they have to They have to learn enough about all these test environments so that they can set them up, run them, and get positive, deal with their non-positive results, and then be able to diagnose that themselves, and and finally get to a compatible, a positive compatibility run. The degree to which that is complicated is going to be reflected in how many people come back to us and say, I tried to run these tests, I couldn't get them to work, and how much are we as a community willing to, invest our time in helping them get that done. The more we can do up front to simplify and regularize the environment, the better off I think we will be long term.
Plus one. How much do we want to restrict it? I think 2 tools will be okay, but we need to get the, what I want to make sure is that we don't just inform the community, this is what you get.
Oh, yeah.
Keeping the community on board. Ed, you are absolutely right. Like less is more, especially in simplification and lowering the bar to entry.
Okay, good, great.
I'm sure before we go, am I pronouncing your name wrong? You're here, you missed so many TCK calls in 2020. What's your take on this?
I kind of agree with, keeping things simple with just, rather than having too many technologies in the mix. I think it's probably make things easier for people who are going to maintain it in the long run. I think rather than adding anything more there, I just probably had a question for, for people who kind of trying to jump in on this effort. What's sort of the overarching sort of very high level perspective on why we're kind of moving away from the existing test hardnesses to these new frameworks?
Question is for you, Scott.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just kind of like a high level perspective on sort of the main motivations for moving towards these, trying to decide between these new testing frameworks. So what was sort of the main pain point with the existing ones?
So the main motivation is to make it more, maintainable, and make it as well as make it easier to add tests as well. And we really want to see more contributors be able to easily understand how the TCKs are working. And right now it's kind of, there's a lot of internal parts that the source is all available, but the knowledge isn't as widely understood as it could be, and simplifying the test frameworks, if you will help. So it'll be easier to add a new test, and it'll be easier to understand the test as well.
Right.
So I think that's, and we all, there's other goals as well, which is making it easy for the spec API projects to take over the TCK test. And some of them are doing this already. They're working on doing their own refactoring, or getting their own TCK test suite going. But not every spec API project will do that.
Okay.
Yeah, and not every test has to move to a spec API project, but they could. It just, it kind of helps reduce the or improve the process of releasing a new EE release, in the sense that there's less contention at the spec API level if they control their own TCK, because basically they don't have to wait for the platform TCK to release or to make available the TCK that they need to complete their part of the EE release. So it kind of eliminates that contention that they currently have on the platform TCK. They being the the spec API projects, or it helps ease that, I should say. That's
Okay.
another like sub goal, if you will. And,
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. All right. Let's see. Okay. So
I think Cesar had their hand up. Cesar, you wanted to say something before we go to the next topic?
Yes, just for
I'm
wrapping up
helping
this.
you,
Yeah,
Pat.
thank you,
Sure.
thank you.
Yeah,
Just for wrapping up this, I was looking at the meeting notes from the previous call, and one topic that was mentioned there is that it seems like there is the possibility to offer an integration of both frameworks, but also something that it hasn't been mentioned on the previous call and in this call is also the scope. How much do we want to invest? I don't know how hard it is to do that, or how many effort that will take. What we want to prioritize. Do we want to prioritize and put in efforts on that direction, that, or actually put that many hours into the actual goal that it was just Scott described it previously, right?
yep. And yeah, we did copy the minutes up. I'm just looking for that specific.
And Scott, I don't think we're helping you write the minutes. If you expect us to help you write it, let us know.
Okay.
Like,
sure. Yeah, definitely. Please do help write the minutes.
so Cesar, what you mentioned, what are you saying? How much time do we want to invest on creating or cleaning up instead of creating features for the technology, or are you meaning?
No. The thing is that on the meeting notes from the previous call, the options, the initial question was JUnit 5 or TestNG, right? But there is a third option, which is both, right? So kind of following what Olivier stated, that more sometimes can be counterproductive. That is how I am interpreting your feedback, Olivier. Correct me if I'm wrong. How much do we want to? How much we want to invest on that direction? At this point, I don't know if that is just a couple of hours and that is done, or how much do we want to put that effort in the main goal, that is what just Scott described, right? So.
Okay, so let's jump into how into the time aspect. For what Alwyn has done on and others on the proof of concept for RESTful web services. Alwyn, you mentioned that we have 400 tests converted so far, and that basically he said that getting the framework set up in the first place was the difficult part, but adding new tests after that was seemed to be pretty easy, and so that was interesting feedback. The thing is there's two million plus lines of code that make up the platform TCK, and the idea of someone manually updating I don't know, the 50,000-60,000 or so tests, and
I thought we were on 43,000. We increased
43,000. Okay, but
43,000 for the full and 13,000 plus. Ed knows best, but yes, 13,000 for the web profile, and then the full one is 43.
Okay.
Ed, correct me here, please.
I try not to remember those numbers. I don't have enough brain cells left.
Okay, I remember, because if I didn't have a beard, I will remember. So
I looked at my total number of tests that and it was in that range, and including like standalone TCKs too. So it was kind of fuzzy, but I mean 43 sounds, whatever it is, whether it's 40, 50, or 60,000, there's too many tests to expect someone to manually make all those changes. So it's either going to be multiple people updating tests, or it could be a few people making a large number of changes, but the amount of mistakes that might be missed by that, um, it, it's just it may be easy to knock off a test, to do a bunch of tests a day, but the number of tests that have to be converted, it's just, I think it's going to be like something that I'd like to automate if possible.
Correct.
Yeah.
Let's invest time in
Yeah.
automation. But Cesar, you're correct. Let's figure out what is the bandwidth.
Yeah. So yeah, so that was, when we got it, we were getting into, how long it takes, and we also talked about using like on the servlet mailing list. Stuart Douglas mentioned some of the work he did for Quarkus to convert test over to, to use Achillean and shrink wrap, and the idea of having some Java code that automates some of the conversions sounds interesting. And if we did that, I don't know if we would want to walk through test sources and kind of identify the different aspects of what we're going to generate from those test sources, or maybe walk through the already built archive, test archives, basically walk through all the ears, the wars, the jars, and identify, and an app client can identify all of the aspects of the deployments, and correlate that to the source code and update the sources as we kind of walk through a test archive, and like piece by piece, use, like just to kind of give a sense of what people you do with shrink wrap. Shrink wrap is the expressive API that lets you construct a war, add classes to a war, add deployment descriptors, add that war to an ear, and whatever else you're doing in your test archives. And so we could try to automate that through some kind of walker that walks through either like the test archives or the sources. But if others have ideas for automation, it would be great to hear, because the more we automate, the more likely we are to not have to manually spend as much time doing the conversion. So that's
One, Scott. You said Stuart Douglas, right? That's why I wrote his last name. He's awesome. So what do you want to show us? Do you want to show us what he talked about, or you want to show us what we have?
We don't really. So I just mentioned that, I included the link to one of the conversion tools that he wrote that just walks through Java test sources with Quarkus, and is adding in the shrink wrap dependencies, imports, and applying them and using shrink wrap API. And he has other processors as well. And it would take too long to walk through the code. I think it's not a bad idea, but
I just
I was hoping that just to use it to mention the idea and see if that sounded like the right approach to others. And in the call this morning, feedback I got was that it may be hard to automate such a conversion. It may not be possible to do to automate it, but yeah.
You know what? When someone says to me, no, it's impossible, that is when there is a capability for us to be smarter with a little bit less. Isn't it? Tooling is what makes coding fun.
Yep.
And we need to be very ruthless with all this matter. Cesar, you wanted to say something on this?
I just pasted for those who may be interested. I in advance I opened some of the links there, and I was trying to navigate before the call a little bit the code, and I just pasted a small example about what I think is what my understanding is on what you just said about that is code in terms of that these extensions that actually add something to the original test in order to make them in our case make them translated to the framework we want. But yeah, that thing that also worked an email thread that so far I recall I only see one conversation about automation. We have that email thread already. I think we can follow up on that because right now at least I'm seeing one example that so far in the mailing list in that email thread we haven't been able to see. So I think we can follow up on that.
That was very long time ago, and it's a really good email.
Well, I don't remember right now. My timing machine is a little fuzzy in my mind, but I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and I don't know if it was Lucas. I don't know if you were the one who provided feedback about this automation part. But anyway, I think now we have an example that we can iterate on that email thread.
Yeah. Lucas had brought up having he pointed me to an example elsewhere of a bash script that converted tests into Maven test folders, and that was a bit different. That was just converting to Maven. But yeah, I remember. Yeah. But
actually,
we could follow up.
I can describe it. Basically, in the past, we had many projects using N or even old versions of Maven. And at some point, Maven gained popularity and we wanted to move towards Maven. On the other hand, we were constrained by resources and we could not afford putting resources or putting people to work just on moving stuff to Maven. So instead of creating a new branch and doing everything there and from time to time merging stuff, we just went away that we created a script which was able to, at any point in time, reorganize the repository into expected layout. It was, we've done that on Metro, we've done that on JAX-WS, on JAX-B, and in the end, as on Eclipse Link repository as well, and it worked pretty well. Basically, the script contained a set of rules, and it was also able to use proper commands on the repository. So like git move or svn move or whatever. So even these steps were recorded in the history and they were recorded as one step. It wasn't a mix of, I don't know, hundreds of commits, but it was just one point in the history, in the commit history.
Lucas.
That was probably the main benefit of that.
Yeah. Lucas, what is stopping you? We saw the email. I remember it was like, I feel like it was weeks ago due to the holiday, so forgive me. What is stopping you and your team for committing a wiki or a page under the documentation for the TCK or whatever else we can put it in the repos so that we can use you're like a case study because you have completed the migration, it seems. So we could use the lessons learned, and especially during this conversation, I don't think it was a follow-up in your thread. Do we revive it? But also documentation is important. It shouldn't be just in the archives. We need to use it. We need to scale it so it doesn't die.
Well, the only documentation we used to have was the repository itself, and the script we were doing was self-explanatory, but I can probably put together some short description of that with pointers to various repositories and maybe even to few more scripts we had. Everything is in buried somewhere in the repositories, in various repos, so I need to figure out the right points in time, but it shouldn't be difficult.
Can you own the task of documentation of this?
Yeah, definitely not this week, but next
totally.
week.
Totally. So, Scott, do we have writing? You know, Lucas will do this X. Or Lucas, you write it. Do you get here?
I'm not sure that this is aligned with what we're looking to do to the test sources, though. This is about being able to reorganize the layout at any point in time, which we had to do, had to do, and we are doing. But the goal that we talked about covering, I think, was basically we want to be able to commit. We want to add test changes for EE10, and we don't want to have to manually synchronize that with the refactoring branch, and that's kind of the goal. But it's definitely important and
out of the scope. We can say Lucas, out of the scope, I will do this in 2 weeks or so. Just set a deadline and we move forward because it's important. You have done the work, not only you alone. And I believe documentation is as important as tooling.
But if we have an idea that can be applied to converting the tests themselves to which is a different it's a different problem to walk through the tests and convert the tests themselves, not so much the converting the the reorganizing the repository layout to Ant or Maven or what have you. So it's kind of a different problem, and it's not against capturing that. I'm not sure that the action item belongs here since it's not helping with reorganizing.
Go ahead, Oliver. Oliver, I think, was trying to go ahead.
No, I just have a question on the expected layout we want, because if I look at the current servlet sources, every single directory got a build or more build.xml. If we convert to Maven, that's, I think I understand it's the goal to use Maven. Do we want to have like every all of this directory being a single Maven project? I mean, creating WAR for every single directory or whatever? Or do we want to have like this servlet module at the top and building all, I don't know.
I think
what's
Scott,
the expectation?
He loves a Scott, but
but I think that the second one, as far as I understand, is the second one scenario that you described.
Okay, so we don't really want, which makes sense because it would be too many files to. Okay. Yeah, that understand my question. Yeah, that answer my question.
Yeah. So while we wait for a Scott, for a Scott, it's 3 minutes to go to end call. I think Lucas, I know you work on this and maybe it's not open source. So if you can share whatever you can share, I think it's important. It's out of scope for this, but definitely the work done can be applied hopefully later. once priorities are tackled. So up to you to write it in the minutes and say, hey, I want to do this. And you can send a forum thread and say, I attended this call. This is my recommendation. I attended the TCK call and I am owning this for the next few weeks. This will come up. And it's your job to create expectations and limit them. For those of you that this is your first call, how do you feel about this? We have 2 minutes to go and we try to be on time. How do you feel about this call as being the first one to return from 2020?
I think it's good because it helps to sync a little bit what the different email threads and bring them all on top of the table and try to discuss. So looking forward for the next ones. Unfortunately, we like to see code and everything, and 1 hour is not enough for trying to move forward that. But I think this was a productive one.
Oliver, any
Yeah,
feedback?
that's pretty good. Yeah, it brings more questions on the table, but that's fine.
We need that. Shereen, what's your take on this?
No, I
Yeah,
think
that's
useful.
good.
It's
Oh,
a
it's,
good starting point. Yeah, sorry.
Ed, Lucas, you have joined before. Does everyone here believe that this is important? So much so that we could have maybe every 2 weeks, a 1 hour where we connect and go through the PRs or whatever threats are happening and hash out whatever has been miscommunicated and the threats. Writing is complicated. The hardest thing we need to do is communicate clearly, and it's so hard at times because we all live abroad. But these calls might be a good point to say, hey, the email may be harsh, but the tone is different when you know the person. It's like I call it hey, it's not that bad. Ask directly, that kind of thing. Do we have more calls like this? Maybe every
Well, I
2
was going
weeks?
to ask Scott, right? Scott, you did this
He's
meeting
not
twice
here.
today.
Yeah, the twice is it was supposed to be today and then 2 weeks from now. It was not supposed to be the same day. And
Well,
I have no idea what went down, but it was supposed to be 2 calls in September, this one, and then 2 weeks, but it happened to be in 1 day. I have no idea because I imagine Scott used or requested to they hired staff for Jakarta and something happened. So, but it was supposed to be only twice a month on Wednesdays, and it will be one of those 2 hours. But now we do not know because Scott is not here. Clearly
Right.
his computer died. So let me see if he's tweeting or telling
yeah,
something.
so I think that would be sort of my question is there he's back.
Oh, there you are. It's Scott.
That was weird. Zoom crashed.
We totally took over and we're saying how wonderful the call was. And you can read it, you can check it at the end. But the question is, the issue that we have is continuation. Do we have these calls every 2 weeks on Wednesdays, only once? Remember this, the call was supposed to be only once today and then another one 2 weeks from now. And our question is, do we keep it 2 weeks from now on Wednesday? Not 2 calls, but 1.
Yeah, I was thinking monthly calls.
Will that be enough? And instead of 2?
The community one we had, we had it every few weeks, but I don't know. I don't know if it's enough or if we're trying this out. But yeah, I was thinking monthly. What's do we need it every 2 weeks? I don't know.
Look, the TCK has the best and most active written asynchronous work communication happening in the entire Jakarta EE project, hands down. And it seems to me that there are so many topics that need closure. Sometimes closure is possible, not because this is not the call to make the decisions, but maybe to connect with someone that is not understanding the situation and has some questions like, surely it had a really great question that now is recorded. Why are we doing this? And why are we talking about this? And now he understands, right? So I say my recommendation will be for September and October to do twice a month.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
we see what happens if there is attendance. And what is attendance? How many committers and how many contributors does the project have? We're not keeping track, but Jakarta has about like almost 110 or something committers. So
Mhm.
we can do this month another one. There will be,
Yep.
and then in October 2, and then see what happens, because we have the new calendar and we have total flexibility to delete whatever it is. You are an admin. You can delete and announce. And my recommendation is to do exactly what you did now. You send the agenda, and you send the agenda after the call and before the call, and that brings the plus 100 and the forum that might be interested one week in advance to know, hey, that call is happening. I will try to join, right? It's about habit and discipline. But that's my take. I'm biased.
I mean, we're only, today's the first day into it. So, I mean, we could repeat it in 2 weeks and try it and see, how it goes. So, yeah, I mean, it's good feedback. And I mean, we do want to keep it aligned and on track. And we do, in October, we do have spec ballots that are, we'll need TCKs, and so it doesn't hurt to have communications, ad hoc communications. So, all right, so let's, we can try it certainly.
Does
And figure-
anyone, and Scott, you're amazing. Does anyone here says no to this? Because these are the kind of easy things we can decide here. Do we need to meet again? And this is 7 hours invested by all of us, not 1, 7, right? Does anyone disagrees? Speak now.
well,
No.
does anyone else want to meet again in 2 weeks?
That is my question. If they say no, you're not expected to attend, but say, I think it's too much high bar or something. This is the moment to say, this is too much work.
It's another meeting. It's yet another meeting in 2 weeks that
Yep.
we'll all need to attend. And so that's, do people want their time, or do they want, do they think that it helps to keep, to keep it going more frequently, I guess. And I'm open if people, want to come back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that will be, Scott, that will be the 22nd. And it shouldn't be 2 calls. That is very hard for you, be in the same call with same agenda, but it's just kind. But what do we do with the timing? If we do it at 2 o'clock, then who here is in Europe and awake right now?
Yeah, I don't know about that week. I have to, I have some time I need to take off to do some things, and so we'll have to figure it out.
Yeah,
But,
what I was thinking is the specification committee has on-off calls at 9 in the morning on Wednesdays. And I was saying that we could use those spots when the specification committee is not meeting, like twice a month, and then just have it for this month and next month, and then move forward. 9 in the morning is easier than 2 p.m. for many. And maybe Oliver, you are in Europe. I have no idea. You work corporate time. I love you guys, but like, who here is awake? Well, you should be asleep.
I'm not in Europe.
Lucas
No,
is
I'm not in
Lucas
Europe.
is
I'm not in
and
Europe.
It's midnight.
Yeah,
Wow.
but it's,
Yeah, it's midnight right now here.
yeah, exactly. So we can't do this. It needs to be at 9 in the morning. I say 9 in the morning. I'm super biased. I already sent a message months ago to Scott. Let's do it 9 in the morning instead of a Friday, Wednesday. So Scott, we have to end set 3:07, but this is your call, and I took over because you were gone. So sorry.
well, yeah, thank you. And like, yeah, I don't know why Zoom crashed, but they sent a crash report, it said, which is good, I guess. But yeah, all right. Thanks, everybody. And we'll follow up on these items we said we would in the mailing list. And
See you on the 22nd, Scott. If you have things to do on that day, then we can do it, like, let's check it out and see if that call, the 9 in the morning, is not with the specification.
Yeah.
Because you are a part of that call as well. 3 of you are. So let's figure that out and move forward.
Great.
okay, all right.
I need to
so-
drop.
Yeah.
Nice to see you all.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone. Thanks so much, Scott, for bringing this back. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you,
Bye.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.